Next guest, an Army veteran. He serves in Congress right now, says what Assange did and the Wikileaks that were compromised, well, they obviously compromised U.S. security and soldier security in Afghanistan and elsewhere. I'm talking, of course, about Florida Republican Congressman Michael Waltz. Congressman, good to have you. What do you make of this?
Neil, let me be clear. Julian Assange, Bradley Manning, and then related but separate Edward Snowden, they have blood on their hands. And I hope the Justice Department throws the book at them. I am looking forward to seeing them extradited back to the United States. And let's just talk for a second about what they did. They took all of our operational files. As a Green Beret in Afghanistan, we were conducting operations night after night after night against the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, later on ISIS. They took all of our operational files, and particularly the sources, the local Afghans that were working with us. They did this in Iraq as well and put them all over the internet. We know that Al-Qaeda had a specific intelligence unit scouring through WikiLeaks and using that information to then target not only American soldiers, but the local Afghans, the local Iraqis, and any other source that we use helping us in the war on terror. So they have blood on their hands, and I hope to see them go to jail for a long time.
You know, Congressman, their view was, particularly Assange's view at the time he was releasing all of this stuff, is that he wanted to expose to the world, particularly the American public, how much top military authorities were lying to them, much like was the case with the Pentagon Papers when they were released, when officials in power were misrepresenting the severity and how poorly it was going in the Vietnam War era. Do you think there was any good served by that, or that they're comparing events that were very different?
So 100% different. I mean, the Pentagon Papers did eventually show that members of that administration were not being fully truthful, and it exposed it. There's very different. We have whistleblower laws. What it did not do, though, was take operational data, individual names, their locations, where they lived, and expose that in the middle of a war. So it's much closer to what maybe Jane Fonda did or what other actual spies did, and it resulted directly, I would argue, in deaths out on the battlefield. And then separately, more strategically, Neil, it's important to understand the effect. Post 9/11, we determined that we weren't connecting the dots between agencies. So we made a big move to share information and make that information very accessible to those out on the battlefield that needed it very quickly. Well, then you have Bradley Manning to go in and take advantage of that and expose it to our enemies. So the result is then all that information became compartmentalized again, making it much harder for all of us to fight the war on terror and to be successful in keeping Americans safe. So it not only had tactical ramifications, it had strategic ramifications. You know, what they did was they broke the law. They made Americans less safe, and they resulted directly in the killing of sources out on the ground.
Congressman, thank you very much. Good to have your perspective, and thank you very much, sir, for your service to this country as well.